Hi, I'm Ed Tucker, Director of the Cybersecurity Practice at Telefónica Tech UK and I. I'm delighted today to be joined by JT, VP of Channels and Alliances at one of our strategic partners, CrowdStrike.
Hey Ed, thanks for hosting us. Delighted to be here.
Absolute pleasure. JT, you were gracious enough to host us recently in Budapest at your European Partner Symposium. Just wanted to start there of what you saw were some of the key takeaways and messages from a CrowdStrike point of view, and what you're really trying to push out into your partner market.
Yeah, sure. So look, we understand that there's companies like Telefónica Tech that need to advise their customers on which way to go in the cybersecurity landscape. Do you go point solutions? Do you go platforms? When you go platforms, who do you go with? We wanted to provide a journey for those partners, an understanding of where we're heading. When you're making investments and when you're advising your customers, we want you to be comfortable that when you advise on CrowdStrike, it's the right thing to be doing. It's the natural thing to be doing. So what we tried to do was outline our journey to you so that you could be comfortable in making those investments. So how are we going to get to $10 billion of ARR? How are we going to increase our addressable market? What technologies are we going to take to market that are going to be exciting and the ones that customers want to evolve, deploy, and work with? And then which partners do they want to do that with? So my takeaway was the partners were excited about that. They saw a company that had a platform strategy, no gaps in between the modules. They saw a company that had a clear plan of how to get to where they were going, and with a solid foundation of technology, and one that embraces partners and wants to work with partners in order to leverage and help customers stop the breach.
That's awesome. I know from my point of view as one of your key partners, was super excited. One, to be there, it was a brilliant event, but secondly, kind of where you're going from a technology, from a platformization point of view. You looked at kind of the key messaging out there, and one of the key things that really stood out for me was the true integration between the modules that you've not only brought to market, but are then enhancing. When you looked at what you'd announced at RSA and then obviously showcased in front of us, of just how you've evolved things like identity into the privilege space, how quickly, if I remember, Falcon Europe, when you were talking about Adaptive Shield, Mike Santonis was talking about Adaptive Shield, and now it's already Falcon Shield, that kind of SaaS protection that's coming in there to be able to do that early detection, that response, that remediation, of just how truly integrated all the different modules are. So it doesn't feel like the old classic of point solution. It feels like a truly integrated approach to stop breaches. And for me, that's, as a dyed-in-the-wool security person who has been a defender for many years, that's exactly the right approach that we've got to bring together now. And I think from a partner point of view, super excited because the experience, the knowledge, the understanding of how disparate technologies don't integrate well together. It goes beyond kind of looking at things like syslog and trying to get the telemetry from that, but that true integration really brought that to life. And I think what you've done with the platform, especially usability, one of my biggest bugbears is technology evolves, but it becomes really hard to adopt and use because actually your GUI is terrible, or you need to go through 13 different screens just to make a minor change. And what you guys have done at CrowdStrike, which I think is phenomenal and shouldn't be understated, is just how easy it is to introduce the new functionality, the new modules. I'm in a single configuration screen that I can do it all from one place. So as an end user, an end consumer, the ease of adoptability actually allows me to maximize how I make use of your platform. And that is absolute gold dust, absolute gold dust.
Yeah, look, and I think integration is the key word there, okay? And for me, integration comes at three different levels. So first of all, integration with our own platform. Single, lightweight agent, that we can deploy across the endpoints and integrate any acquisitions or new products that we build organically into that platform story. No gaps in between the modules, helps decisions be made quickly. No time differences in terms of what's happening between the different modules and the different solutions and use cases that we take. So that's number one. Second level of integration is that we then have tech integrations with other partners. So the bits that we don't do, we want to make sure that customers and our partners can integrate those easily. So partners like Zscaler, partners like Mimecast, we work with very concentrated in a fashion. We rely and we work with partners like Telefónica Tech in order to take that story and those integrations out and make it easy for the customer and for you to build one cohesive solution for that customer. And then the third part of integration for me is around integration with partnerships. So we have a fantastic partnership with Telefónica Tech, right? It's not just a UK business, it's a European business, yeah, and global. So we want to integrate with partners like you, and we want you to integrate with us. And the story of integration is threefold. So it's our technology, it's technologies that we want to bring into the fold and that we're cohesive with, and then it's integration with our partner sets.
That's brilliant. And just touching on our partnership, I mean, we were lucky enough through hard work and graft as well and results to win the Southern Europe Partner of the Year, which is amazing kudos, I think, for the efforts that Telefónica has put into the partnership and how actually together we're become almost like a seamless entity. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, what makes a strong partner when it comes to someone who wants to team up with CrowdStrike?
Yeah, I think the first thing that makes it strong is a plan. Okay, where do we want to both be? Yeah, and how do we get there? And the relationship that we have with Telefónica and Telefónica Tech, not just in the UK, but in Spain and across the globe, yeah, is strong enough to withstand some of the bumps that you meet in the road when you work together. So that's what makes it really strong and really passionate for me. The award, there was no luck about it, okay? It was hard graft, yeah. It was people buying into the plan, our executives, but more importantly at a local level. Yeah, your local sellers, our local sellers, agreeing a go-to-market and then executing on that and executing well. Us supporting you where you needed help and you supporting us where we needed help. Customers who are making a decision want an independent point of view. Yeah, you help them make that independent point of view. You don't have to sell CrowdStrike, but you choose to do it because you know that we're the best platform on the planet. And that's where the partnerships become strong. We need to advise partners and customers how they integrate, yeah, and we do that well. And so for me, that award was recognition, not luck, for the hard work that everyone put in. Yeah, and hopefully we can start seeing that award spread across the water a little bit and maybe just enter into the UK.
I definitely think we can. We've got some real good momentum in the UK with our partnership. And I think the key word for me was execution. And the one thing that stands out for me and a real reason why we wanted to partner with CrowdStrike, we wanted to make it an absolute flagship from the UK and I perspective, was how the technology platform, the platformization, has allowed us to advise, coach, challenge on outcomes, and then ultimately deliver into our customers that truly integrated approach to stopping breaches. It's very easy to do things like a SOC replacement. You repoint your log forwarders, you set the same rules in place, but actually the customer doesn't take an evolutionary step forward to really evolutionize and modernize that security operations, that risk posture, that breach awareness, that resilience. You've got to take them to another level. And you've got to maximize the use of the platform and the modules and the technology and the integrations that come with it. And I think what we bring is a whole heap of empathy, a whole heap of understanding from our customer point of view what that journey is. There's a number of us who've built and run SOCs as the end customer, as the defender, and now seeing the opportunity that the platform and the development and the continual evolution that you do through Falcon, and bringing that and marrying it with that ability to navigate the journey for the customer and define the outcome that makes success, to then marry those things together was partly why we saw CrowdStrike as our prime partner, as our go-to-market partner for that true SecOps 2.0 journey and that continual pathway to excellence. And it's something that I think has really stood out and why we've invested so much into developing our expertise, developing our capabilities, reaching that expert partner program, because we see it as a true technology that's never going to stop evolving. When you look at kind of AI threats, the need to understand human and non-human identity, data, your posture assessments, your SASE landscape, you need a technology that almost touches everything across the business. And we see you as the technology that does that. And that's why we're delighted to partner with you.
And look, I think customers want someone to take an opinion to them. They want that opinion to be informed. To take that opinion when you haven't gone through accreditations, certifications, knowledge, understanding is very difficult. And I think Telefónica Tech has done that very well. And you're winning, right? We're seeing wins in diverse vertical markets, certainly across the UK. We've always seen it in the continent, across many different market segments. And we're seeing it here. So we're seeing it in public sector with blue light organisations, and we've had some tremendous wins there. And then you come out of the public sector and you start to look into vertical markets like CPG. We had a great win up in the Northwest on CPG, a true transformation. And that customer, they're looking for you to give an opinion because they know that you've got a view on the market. They know that you've got a view on who's doing it well and who isn't. They know that you're seeing it in multiple customers. And you're not going to take an opinion that isn't the right fix and the right make and the right shape for that customer. And I think with the level of investment that you've made with CrowdStrike, you're making a mark with your customer. You're taking that opinion out. They're listening because they know it's an informed opinion. Yeah. And then they know that they're investing in someone who can deploy it, make it work, take them through that transformation. Because the risk for the customer is, well, I know that my SIEM of yesterday isn't going to be my SIEM of today, but who's going to take me through that transformation? Who can make it safe for me? Yeah. Who can do it and help me save the money and realize the investment and the return on investment that they said I was going to get. And I think that informed judgment, that level of elite status that you enjoy with us is paying back. It pays back to you, but it pays back to our customers. And when you go and do your job of work, you stop a breach. And that for the customer is what they ask you to do, and they ask us to help secure you.
100%. And I think what we're seeing now, and you're right that we're seeing multiple use cases across diverse sectors, but actually what we're seeing now is that the problem is much more ubiquitous. There are a number of organizations who still, haven't got a SOC, a security operations, that are still looking for that in certain markets, but actually the majority of customers already have something. There's a certain sunk fallacy cost that they understand the language, they're so wedded to it, their detection engineering, their rules are in place, but they're wedded to a particular technology, but can't maximize the use of it, can't get into truly modernized security operations. And they are coming to us for kind of, well, what does that look like? What's the definition of modern security operations? What are the right technology choices that enable that? And then also, what's my transitional path? One of the hardest things for a CISO to do is say, we want to invest in a new technology, but our risk posture is going to go backwards before it goes forward. Yeah. No board on the planet is giving them money for that. And that's where I think our expertise comes in helping them go through the journey of how do I move from one technology to another, and potentially at the same time consolidate some peripheral technologies through the additional modules that you provide through the platform to then actually take that true journey towards SOC 2.0, SOC 3.0, to actually keep pace with the adversarial evolution, but also the internal technological evolution that comes alongside it. We see it as a really, really strong use case, and we're seeing it across sectors. It's really, really common.
Yeah, look, and partners like you that understand the platform play, that understand it's not about a transaction, it's about a journey, you're going to be the winners, okay? Organizations that are steadfast in their technology that they're using today, but sit in a silo and don't understand that they have an adversary problem, not a malware problem, are going to be the losers. And it's your job, it's our job to educate those people that they have to continually move, because the speed at which adversaries are moving is very, very quick. And we need to be quicker in order to do that. But I talk about a journey, and what we try and do and where we're positioning with that journey is that we give you the journey transformation and we give you Flex. So you guys have been great in terms of taking Flex out to market, outlining what the journey is for that customer, helping them with a demand plan to take on the platform, taking out the point solutions that you talked about earlier, making sure that they don't have gaps in their posture and in their landscape management, and that take them through that journey. You become a strategic advisor into them, and they rely on that strategic advice. And your status with us, your education with us, you go to market with us, the muscle memory that we now have, all adds together in order to bring that to market and to stop a breach for the customer.
And I think one of the key things that we're seeing alongside that is, we're now somewhat close to 5 years post-COVID, where kind of the world changed, in a lot of organizations, and a lot of people had to make almost scrambled decisions, which is where we're seeing a lot of the more point solutions have come in. And it was a necessity. It was a child of its time. It's tactical decisions just to maintain business operation. We're seeing that in almost that traditional refresh cycle that a number of customers are now looking at, hang on, I've got 6, 7, 8, 9 different technologies here. My total cost of ownership for maintenance, operation, exploitation is through the roof. And actually, I'm only using a very small percentage of each one of those technologies because I've never really had the time to embed the process to maximize my use. And that's where we're seeing a real drive towards that wanting to consolidate, that want to platformize, to actually move into that, how do I maximize my use of the technology I actually employ? Yeah. I'm just wondering, from a CrowdStrike perspective, where are you seeing kind of the next evolution of the platform? What are the next key areas that you're focusing on?
Yeah, look, the attack surface is always changing, okay, and we have to keep a pace with the attack surface. So just as it changed when COVID happened, yeah, it's now changing back, and the attack surface is multiplying. So we have to make sure that we can provide solutions. We need to make sure that we have use cases to manage all of those different attack surfaces. You only need to come into a Telefónica Tech office in London and see that things are coming back. Yeah, that people are out there in the market, not at home working and managing their endpoints. So we see an evolution in terms of managing the endpoint, yeah, and continuing to manage different and diverse endpoints. But we also see evolution in terms of how you do that. So we're seeing the advent, and we're starting to see the usage of AI technologies come into play. We have Charlotte in order to help that with the SOC analysts. And so we're seeing that movement, but that needs to be accelerated. Yeah, it needs to be used more in order for those returns to be made on the investment. And we need to take those messages out to the customer.
I think the one thing that stands out for me as I've seen the evolution of the platform, and things like how Charlotte has evolved naturally, but also alongside that, things like the fusion, the automation, the orchestration, the integrations with not just the evolution of the modules themselves, but those that you've acquired along the way and integrated truly into the platform, is you almost get a feel that in a deperimeterized organization, a deperimeterized world, you're almost redefining the perimeter by the touch points you have within that organization across their SaaS consumption, across their cloud consumption, across their identity, human and non-human, getting into the privileged, obviously the endpoint side of things as well. The ability to integrate with the other technologies that you don't touch, like email or some of the networking vendors in there, that actually through this platformization, there's almost a dotted line of a reperimeterizing the attack surface and the threat landscape by focusing on those core aspects of what is now a disparate organization. And it's interesting seeing that evolution and seeing how you're applying the use case in your development of the Falcon platform, that almost ubiquitous, you become almost that ubiquitous security vendor, like we had in the old days with your Semantics and your McAfees, as was many, many years ago, of new blades, new agents on the endpoint, but in a very much more modernized way that becomes easily consumable and gives that end organization, that consumer, that risk posture, the ability to kind of understand their full attack surface.
Yeah, look, if you want an operating system for customer experience and CRM, you go to Salesforce. If you want an operating system for security, you come to CrowdStrike. And IT is being deployed differently. I was lucky enough to listen a talk yesterday, CIO of a major high street bank, talking about how their IT has become a profit, not a cost center. So people are using IT to become much more innovative. Yeah, they always have, but now it's under scrutiny. But you've then got to secure it. And we've got to stay ahead of those use cases in terms of how people want to deploy IT to make more money, yeah, so that we can secure what they're doing. Yeah, and I think we do that well. We stay ahead of the curve, we stay ahead of the adversaries, and we partner with organizations like Telefónica Tech to do that.
And interesting kind of as, IT is effectively a profit center rather than a cost center, which traditionally it always was, maybe as a back office enabler, but now actually seen as a profit center. One of the things that come, as the security landscape always evolves, the amount of technologies we have to interact with, the innovation that's going through organizations, the advent of AI and the adoption, all the aspects of shadow or production, however you want to call it, almost requires, kind of from a security point of view, an entire army to focus on all those different things. And I think, and I'd be interested in your view, that the ability to use things like the True Fusion playbooks, the orchestration, the advent of Charlotte, and how that's truly evolved to take away a lot of the legwork of the human tasks that now should and could be automated to allow the Mark 1 eyeball and the Mark 2 brain to actually focus on the key issues. How you've seen that evolution within the platform to reduce that overhead.
And look, platforms are making that happen. As an industry, I don't think we've served the customer well, because what we've done is we've developed these point solutions that don't necessarily operate and interact. Platforms do that. They do that by design. Yeah, we build resilience by design. And when you've got an AI tool that can operate across your platform, that can help take the noise away, because that's a big problem, okay? Noise. And when you've got point solutions, you create more noise when you're trying to get a view of the whole surface. When you have a platform, you have no gaps in terms of time or data or what it is that you're looking for. But you have a lot of data. So it's the use of AI in order to filter out the noise, in order to be able to concentrate, find the needle in the haystack, and fix the real problem rather than the problem that isn't a problem.
Awesome. And just touching on data as kind of a final point of, obviously, the evolution from a modular perspective into that protection of data. Now, kind of giving that quorum of all the key facets that an organisation is looking after, kind of what's the focus from a CrowdStrike point of view when it comes to that data protection, that data security standpoint?
Yeah, look, we're there to secure everything, okay? So whether it's data, whether it's the endpoint, whatever it is, we have to make that safe. We have to make sure that access is only to those that are privileged enough to behold it and have it. So we manage that, we look at that, we understand where attacks can happen, we see adversaries moving very, very quickly, and we stay ahead of those. And with partners like you, then we make our customers safe.
Brilliant, JT. From my standpoint, our personal partnership has only been a couple of years in the making. From Telefónica, it's been many years in the making. It's going great guns, both from a fantastic technology, a fantastic platform that's continually evolving to the true use cases of defenders. And I like to think we're evolving alongside that to make sure that we can provide what they'll need. It's an amazing technology. It's an amazing technology partnership. JT, thank you very much.
Thank you.